Bitcoin and Solana heating up. Things are starting to move in the market. Today, we're going to be breaking it down for you with some analysis on a variety of tokens. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a great trading day. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. We'll start today by thanking our sponsor, and that is iTrust Capital. If you guys are looking at long-term holding and you want to do it in an IRA, a crypto IRA, you can do that over at iTrust Capital. All you have to do is jump in and use our link. It's going to do a couple of things. First, it's going to get you a $100 funding reward. But also with iTrust, there's a lot of variety within that. You kind of see that ticker going across the top there. Those are all the different assets that are available in there. Avalanche, Axie, Basic Attention Token. You can get into a ton of altcoins, as well as some of the blue chips out there, whether it's Solana, Avalanche, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and of course you can do gold and silver over there as well. So check it out, use our link down below. It'll get you going. I want to bring in, of course, Mr. Tim Warren, one of our contributors here on the channel. How are you, Tim?
Doing good, Paul. Good to be back on here. How are you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Hey, man, I've been watching your trades over on Investing Bros. I'm liking what you're doing. I'm seeing more and more audience growth for you guys. So congrats on all the moves over there, man. So love to see that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'd love to see that.
Thank you.
Listen, let's get into a couple of things today. I want to jump on to Bitcoin and a little bit of the, obviously we saw the scenario that came in over the last couple of weeks in terms of Mt. Gox, even Germany. Now you got Britain that is holding $5 billion in Bitcoin as a stash. I wonder, because there's some countries out there, if you think El Salvador, or you look at even some of the African nations who are starting to move more into digital assets, and even some of the G7. I'm wondering now if people would look back on the move by Germany and go, had you just waited a week,
right?
The amount of what you'd have been able to do. So it kind of made Germany look a little silly there. What do you think about people like that are holding that much Bitcoin?
Well, I mean, and that goes right into the whole thing that played out where their account was at zero, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it had $1.87. I don't know the significance of $1.87, but it had in the messaging the have fun staying poor, the HFSP or whatever. So yeah, the news just came out of nowhere. People weren't really sure what's happening. I guess like they had a law. The time was up. They had to go ahead and start selling Bitcoin. I'm not in the German government. I don't know what's happening there. But yeah, it's one of those things. If they had just tweaked that law a little bit and held. I mean, the other thing, I made a video this morning, Paul. We're watching, of course, anyone who watched the Republican National Convention last night, if you've been paying attention to how I'm calling him Orange Man. I'm trying not to get Google or YouTube to ban any channels I'm on because we're saying presidential names and maybe having election interference. But it's no secret. Orange Man is going to be pro-crypto. He's made a lot of statements here recently that he wants to utilize Bitcoin heavily to protect America and not back the dollar, but put it into the treasury. Well, we're also seeing remarks from like Vladimir Putin doing the same thing. And there's rumblings that maybe Xi Jinping in China might be doing the same thing. Whether you're American or not, if you're a Bitcoin holder and you're watching a race. I think we're watching a race right now, Paul, of countries realizing, oh my gosh, we need Bitcoin, we need crypto, this is the future. And we, who have been holding for years now, just get to sit back and laugh and let our bags roar to the upside. But it would have been nice for Germany if they could have held off and changed their laws. But, maybe they need to have some fun staying poor.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how these G7 nations, even the G20, as we start to see this roll out, if in fact we see Bitcoin or other digital assets make their way as a reserve of any type, and especially if the ETH ETF, which we'll talk about in a little bit, roars after its launch next week. With all that being said, on Bitcoin, I want to go to the chart real quick and take a look at the current run on Bitcoin because we are nearing potentially a breakthrough at the 70K mark. What are you seeing right now in your chart?
Yeah, so I've had a little bit of debate with, not debate, people have asked a lot of questions. My chart looks like this, and what we're looking at right now is what we call a descending channel. You're going to notice, anyone who's watching this, that I have a price prediction up at $82,000, and that's because in a descending channel, you take the opening of the formation and you move it over to where currently today we are breaking with higher volume. If you go to lower time frames, high volume is breaking this resistance level. This is extremely extremely bullish for Bitcoin's price. But here's what I'll tell you guys. Anyone who says, Tim, why do you have your resistance line draw like that? I have a lot of reasons, but let me humor you and just extend this into a megaphone pattern. Well, all of a sudden that gets a lot more bullish. I like to be a little more conservative with my estimates. But if this ends up breaking out, when we break roughly above, let's call it somewhere around 71,200, we break above 70K, now all of a sudden we're having the conversation about a big move up towards 95. So either way you draw your line, it's going to be very bullish. I'm a bigger fan of this just because I like to stay conservative. I don't want to miss out on a big gain. I think there's a good chance we do rally into the 82K area, maybe have a little bit of cool off for a couple of days, and then continue up closer towards $100. We're also watching right now, if you were to come to lower time frames, on the daily chart, there is a major resistance level where we currently are. However, lower time frames, as we're working to break through, this keeps flashing back and forth, but I'm keeping an eye on this level right here on 66,000, almost 500. There's an order block in play right here that should be resistance along with this descending line. But if the bulls continue this spike and the volume that's coming in does look very, very good, we could see this come above. This becomes now a strong level of support rather than being resistance, and that would be massive for moves to the upside. But the last thing I want to show before we go back to you here, Paul, keep an eye, everybody, on the weekly chart, and something that we have not seen since the last big explosion in Bitcoin price, constriction in the weekly Bollinger Bands. The last time we were this constricted was right back here in August, September area of 2023. We all know now in hindsight, we would go on to explode to new highs even before the halving. Well, that constriction's coming back in. And while on a chart alone perspective, this theoretically speaking could be a big dip to the downside, I think anyone using their rational thinking brain is going to pair all of the news, the sentiment, and other charts to saying there's a lot more of an argument for a bullish outbreak. And again, we're probably in the next, probably before the end of the year, going to see Bitcoin explode even above 82 and get closer to that 100K, if not over it. And that's just 2024. 2025 is going to be even more fun.
With the ETH ETF launch next week, do people start taking some of these profits and saying, hey, maybe I need to balance a little bit into Ethereum? Is Ethereum getting ready to make a run? What are you looking at on your ETH chart?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of cryptos start to run here, Paul. Let me pull up my screen here for a second. If I come back in here, Ethereum has got some bullishness of its own, recently breaking out of its own little falling, kind of like Bitcoin might be in here, but its own little megaphone pattern. This breakout for Ethereum, the first target probably back to the highs of earlier this year, around $4,100. So keep an eye on 41 for a next level of resistance. But in a much larger play right here, you're going to notice that Ethereum, since this high in March, is now in a sideways channel. And with all the expectation being that we should see bullish momentum flow when the ETF goes trading live, we're talking about a breakout prediction at least towards 5,600, if not higher. I think this is kind of in that same boat. And we're talking about, let's say, an $82,000 to $90,000 Bitcoin. I think that'll go hand in hand with a $5,600 Ethereum. Something that I want people to also realize is one of the reasons why I'm super bullish on all of crypto maybe taking a rise over the next little bit, despite the fact, I think we're going to talk a little bit about stocks later, at least Coinbase, but some people have been mentioning, why is the S&P 500 rallying pretty aggressively over the last month, actually last couple of months, while at the same time Bitcoin was moving to the downside? I'm not going to be surprised at all, Paul, if we actually see a lot of friends of mine who study the stock market a lot more than crypto. They're predicting we should just have not a crash, not a dip, just a correction of the stock market of about 10%. That's a pretty reasonable pullback. Well, it's not because the economy's weak. It's not because people don't want to make money. It's because right now we've had such an amazing run in the stock market. It's time to take profits and find something else. Well, what has been dipping now for the last month? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. What if we see profits from the stock market temporarily in this diverged world of stocks to crypto move into crypto with massive money flowing into the altcoins and Bitcoin? And that's not even the altcoin season. That's just money flow where people think they're going to make the most gains.
Yeah, well, I think we had Danielle DiMartino Booth on yesterday. Her and I were kind of breaking that down of the potential of what we could see in a softening on the S&P, they're still looking, when I say they, meaning Wall Street analysts, are still looking at a little bit of pressure here in the, the current position of where we're going to see the S&P. If you apply back to your theory of where this money might go, I'm looking at this ETH ETF really strong. This, of course, is James Seyfert talking about this in terms of the fees. Look at these fees here. Let me zoom in on that. That's Franklin, Van Eck, Bitwise, all at 0. Fidelity coming in at 0. Even iShares, which is BlackRock, coming in at 0.12. Point being is that they're going to hold these for a period of time. So we're going to have 0 fees trading on Ethereum when our best fees out there on most of the brokerages, we know what that is. So it'll be interesting to see if we might get some traditional Ethereum players going into these ETFs, which, especially if you think about private offices, things of that nature that could go that direction.
The other thing I want to make sure people understand about the ETH, because some people are saying, well, are we going to see Ethereum repeat what Bitcoin did? If we go back to January 10th on Bitcoin's chart and the rest of crypto space, Bitcoin fell about 20%, literally starting the day after the ETF went live. Some people are saying, is Ethereum going to model the same thing? However, the reason for that is if you look at price action on Bitcoin for the months leading into that, we started to bake in bullish price action. Not enough, clearly, because we went on to rally, like you mentioned, another 70%. But we started to bake in the bullishness versus Ethereum. The Ethereum bullishness of an ETF is not baked into price.
Exactly.
Will there be volatility of people selling and buying? Absolutely. That's when all of us here in crypto world, we have one promise we can make you, and that is that there will be volatility. But when all the dust settles, Ethereum will be moving up and to the right, hitting new highs very, very soon, probably before election season.
Do you have a price prediction for end of year ETH? Have you been looking at that when you chart this out? Because I have some crazy numbers that if you look at the rate in which the acceleration could be versus what we see in supply, when you look at the current exchanges and you look at some of the Dune analytics on supply availability, for ETH, it looks super, super bullish. Matt Hogan was talking about this from Bitwise. He kind of got into this whole issue of supply demand, and we had not seen that necessarily in Bitcoin, where this time around with the ETH ETF we might. Have you got a price prediction for end of year?
I don't necessarily have a price prediction just yet, the exact number, but I'll give a range that I think is very realistic. My end of the bull market price prediction for Ethereum is sitting between 18 to 20,000. Okay. I think it's pretty reasonable that Ethereum could get to about half of that before the end of the year. So we're talking somewhere between $8,000 to $10,000 of Ethereum when we go into January 1st of 2025.
Interesting. Okay. All right, so a couple other things happening. Have you been following what's going on with Polymarket? Crazy predictive analytics out there. With that being the case, and you think about Polymarket being Polygon, obviously, as the blockchain, when you look at Polygon, because this is one that we've kind of has been up and down, has not been a winner, I don't think, to an extent, but does it start to flip a little bit here with what's happening right now? Because we're seeing a lot of growth in the wallets, the mobile app use, obviously with Polymarket, that's only going to, add more value to what we're going to see in Polygon. What do you like on Polygon as a whole?
Yeah, before I go to the charts, this is what I like on Polygon. And I like this about a lot of cryptos, but as a technical analyst, a lot of people will tell me, like, Tim, how can you be bullish on a project when the price action looks so terrible? I'm not just a technical analyst, I'm an investor, and technical analysis is my favorite way to kind of look at what's happening. But I have to use my brain. I have to use what's happening in the news. And I'm a big believer, Paul, that price is always downstream from fundamentals. So while I look at the chart here, and I'll go ahead and share my screen. When I look at the chart of Matic, Polygon, which is not going to be Matic for much longer, but for now it's there. It's not a great looking chart. I mean, we came back down lower than we were back in September. Only a handful of coins have done something like that. That's not a good thing. This is going to cause several investors, retail investors, to say, oh, nope, Matic's looking dead. Optimism, Arbitrum, Base, they're all taking out Matic. All the while, though, if you don't open up a news article, if you don't look up what's happening in the Polygon space, they are continuing to build their developers. They're continuing to build their relationships. And I make this comparison all the time to remind people, if you were just someone who looked at charts back in the 1990s and you were looking at Amazon, you would have said that was a flopped project. However,
Yeah.
It wasn't. Just because price is down is not the end, but I'll tell you what happens when price is down. It's called the word opportunity. If price is downstream of fundamentals and the fundamentals of a project are super strong, like I do believe Matic is, then to me, seeing this price still down from previous all-time highs, seeing it down 82% isn't a negative. That's an opportunity for me to make a lot of money. I'm not going to say you're not going to make money on other projects, but for example, Solana's barely down from all-time high. Again, yeah. I'm going to make money on Solana. I'm not dumping my Solana. We're going to talk about that later. But you want to talk about which one has the better opportunity for major gains? It absolutely is Matic right now. I am a believer in holding both, but what we're looking at here, now we get into the charts here, we are back in a falling wedge pattern that we have not broken out of. We actually temporarily had a fake out, but these are major moves to the upside, Paul. We should see in the next couple of months a move on Matic back up here to roughly $1 coming probably sometime by September, maybe mid-September if this ends up playing out the way it should. But we're also seeing a lot of things of our oscillators. We're seeing buy signals on the weekly chart for the first time really since way back in September of 2023. Of course, even though we didn't run to any new highs, we did have major rallies coming out of another falling wedge pattern back then. So whether you believe in Matic long-term or not, we're seeing history repeat itself that we should see a pretty decent rally. And at this point, my target is sitting right there around $1. After that, then you can start talking about when do we get back to new all-time highs? When do we reconquer $3 and go higher? I have a video on my channel I probably need to redo. I need to reevaluate some things. I still am a big believer in Matic. I don't think that in that video I think I'm less bullish now than I was back then, but I still am majorly bullish on Matic as a whole. And really, again, right now, the key word for me there is major opportunity for Matic. It's not a downside.
There are a couple of key dates here for Matic. This is when it shifts over to Paul after the community consensus. That'll happen on the upgrade. It happened on September 4th. So that could be another signal there of just awareness and obviously branding and marketing. We are going to try to have the Polygon team on to talk about this along with their initial phase of what they're going to do in terms of native gas and staking on the token for Paul. So we'll see how that plays out. To your point, still a very powerful blockchain. There are some still positives there. I don't know that, and I'm like you, I'm still waiting for that trigger moment to see it, because right now, sentiment-wise, it's still showing a downward trend on our metrics, and it's still almost full on in terms of our overall chart on sentiment, still sliding down. So we may see a little bit more, back to your point, is this little bit of this downtrend wedge that seems to be appearing on Matic. Talk to me about this, because I'm still trying to kind of struggle with Aero or Uniswap as kind of who could be the winner on this. What's your framework of the theory on that?
Yeah, so first of all, I did a lot of research on this. My community had been talking about Aerodrome for a while. We actually, not myself, but one of the other guys on our team, he actually made a great sell call for our community at $1 before we ran down below 50 cents. But as of course we all have seen, it's up. It probably was the hottest altcoin of the last 2 weeks. It rallied more than a 2x. And as I look deeper into the fundamentals and what they were doing, first of all, you got to love what they're doing. They are the liquidity coin for Base, the blockchain that Coinbase is using to be a layer 2 for Ethereum. Of course, Base doesn't have its own token, right? So if Base was a token, I might say, all right, it's cool that Aerodrome is liquidity, but ultimately, I think more people want to flood their money into Base. Well, you can't buy a Base token. So where would I think a lot of people actually go to get the benefits of all the things that Base ecosystem's working on? I think you run to the liquidity, and that is Aerodrome. But it is new. It's connected to a very hot project. It's connected to a very hot company. And right now, because Coinbase doesn't itself have a coin, Base isn't a coin, Aerodrome looks like the #1 benefiter of the Base ecosystem, which is crushing it right now in terms of transactions, total value locked, and people building and growing their layer 2 stuff on the Ethereum ecosystem. So for that reason, I was taking a look at some price action that could be in play. And I think there was a formation on Aerodrome that made me bullish and say $3 is what we could easily get to. I think that's not even the top of the bull market. That's just what we're talking about potentially happening before the end of 2024.
Let's jump over to XRP. A little bit happening right here. Ledger is seeing substantial amount of both new addresses, also Total addresses interacting on the network. Obviously, if you guys have been watching our XRP videos, you understand of what's happening with real asset tokenization and how XRP is involved. If you look at XRP right now, Tim, do you like this as it's setting today? Because it's been hot. It gets a retrace down, and then what do you think about XRP holding this over the next few months?
Yeah, so I'll tell you this. I'm one of the people that is kind of back and forth on XRP, Paul, in terms of saying, like, I used to be crazy bullish thinking that there was a chance we got like closer to $20. I have come back to say I think it's more realistic, somewhere between $5 to $8. That's a big range, but that's where I am. But some people give me flack here recently. I've been at least short-term bullish on XRP. Why? Well, first of all, we're getting dangerously close to breaking finally out of this long-term symmetrical triangle pattern. And if it plays out its full potential, this alone right here, again, you got to take this TA with a grain of salt, but this could see the price of XRP shooting up here towards $7.60, right? So that right there, oh, my thing went away there. That right there is long-term kind of bullish, but I'm not even going to focus on that. I just want to focus on the potential trade opportunity, and I think there's a great opportunity here. We're in a falling channel, just like we're seeing with Bitcoin, just like we're seeing with others, and this, in the short time frame and what people could take advantage of, would lead towards a breakout price up above $1, pushing back towards 130, prices that we saw be the highs of November back in 2021. And anyone who's been here remembers that was the time that most crypto projects were hitting new all-time highs. Not XRP, of course, they were suppressed, but that's a good starting point right there. And so if whether you like or dislike XRP, if you're a trader, it is hard to look at the news, the momentum, and the opportunity right here for over 100% gains in the next couple of months. And just like last year, about a year ago, almost to the day, July 13th, or July, is that 10th? That's the 13th of 2023. The news that we thought the lawsuit was finally over made the price shoot up 100% in one day. Once it's official, I'm not saying 100% in one day, Paul, but I do think we're going to start there. And I'm not going to be surprised if, again, before election season, I think that's going to be a big area to look at where crypto prices are. I would not be surprised to see $1 to $1.30 for XRP.
Okay. All right. Well, you're still bullish then. All right. So let's jump over to Solana. And I want to get into this because Solana is on the move right now. And of course, if you look at this performing even against ETH right now, the pair is holding pretty solid. When you look at Solana as it is right now, we know that breakpoint's coming in the fall. We've got, of course, almost every major chain, Avalanche, what we'll see within Base happening because of on-chain summer, Polygon making their move. Then you've got things happening, of course, within the Solana ecosystem that are getting very aggressive. What do you like and don't like about the Solana chart right now? Because it's performing well over the last 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, well, because there's going to be a lot that I like, let's start with what I don't like potentially. And the fact is that right now on the daily chart, we're running back into some resistance right here around 173. That's about it for what I don't like, Paul, because when I come out to longer time frames, major support was hit back here early in July. In fact, we've been riding this whole level for a long time, holding up support, this weekly smart trail, this weekly bullish breaker block. These were major levels of bullish play. But what I found very intriguing, I noticed it this morning, again, it's in my morning video over on Investing Bros, but lots of coins got this signal, but Solana is one of them. We got, again, bullish call here where we've had a reversal for a while now, but we got the positive money flow and we got the bullish momentum coming back into play. Also, the bounce off the 50 RSI. The last time we saw this, I'm going to give you guys a couple examples, but the last time we saw this, Solana, right back here, September 25th, it would go on to rally, and I'm not saying this is going to repeat. I'm going to be a little more conservative. It would go on to rally over 1,000% from that time frame. But I'm going to be a little more conservative and notice there's been several rallies on Solana. One of them was the biggest, was a very, very big one, over 600%. But notice Solana, after having these bottom out periods, has a consistency of rallying. Let's see, that one was 160. Let's see what this one is, 160, 150. You come up in here, this one rallied from here, 100 and 64%. So let's just go with the more conservative breakout that Solana's had consistently. Forget this one of, again, 600%. They've had multiple 160 to 150% breakouts. If that were to be in play, and this is another move that mimics this entire bull market, we're talking about a price over $300. And then you take a look here, Paul, and you say, well, what's the time frame of that? Because someone might be saying, all right, Tim, is that saying $300 by the end of 2024? No, again, I think this is maybe $300 before elections. This period of 160% also usually only takes roughly 8 to 9 weeks, give or take. You can see it time and time again. It's not a lot of candles between bottoming out periods and top performers. So again, if I were to stretch this out, let's come back over here, that we could see a $300 Solana not at the end of the year, maybe sometime around the end of August, early September. That's not even close to election season. That means a lot of rally still coming, probably just under a 2x in play over the next month and a half if history repeats itself once again.
All right, listen, guys, we're going to wrap this up today. Tim, it's always fun talking
Absolutely.
to you. If you're not over on Investing Bros, go over to his channel. All you have to do is jump over to Investing Bros. You can kind of see it right there. Subscribe and get in on that. I'm on my secondary account, so I'll subscribe there too.
Boom.
And there you go. You've got one more subscriber in there. Check out Tim Warren over there. Always great to have you on the show, Tim. Thanks for coming in today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paul.
You bet. All right, you guys, if you're not in the Diamond Circle, make sure and jump in. Again, this is our private group. We have an email. We have a community now. Geez, our community is exploding too. So you guys can all chat within that community. We also have our private communities for our mastermind and MSI members. So all of that's available to you. All you have to do is click the link down below to jump in. Of course, you can catch me out there on X at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.